Good evening, everyone. Corey Anderson here. Right now, we are going to go over the very last chapter out of our lovely book, The Science of Being Well by Wallace D. Wattles. Today is the 23rd of June, and it is 9:52. Chapter 17, A Summary of the Science of Being Well. Health is perfectly natural functioning, normal living. There is a principle of life in the universe. It is the living substance from which all things are made. This living substance permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. In its invisible state, it is in and through all forms, and yet all forms are made of it. To illustrate, suppose that a very fine and highly diffusible aqueous vapor should permeate and penetrate a block of ice. The ice is formed from living water and is living water in form, while the vapor is also living water unformed, permeating a form made from itself. This illustration will explain how living substance permeates all forms made from it. All life comes from it, and it is all the life there is. This universal substance is a thinking substance and takes the form of its thought. The thought of a form held by it creates the form, and the thought of a motion causes the motion. It cannot help thinking, and so is forever creating, and it must move on towards fuller and more complete expression of itself. This means towards more complete life and more perfect functioning, and that means towards perfect health. The power of the living substance must always be exerted towards perfect health. It is a force in all things making for perfect functioning. All things are permeated by a power which makes for health. Man can relate himself to this power and ally himself with it. He can also separate himself from it in his own thoughts. And to add into that, man is the same thing as this power. This mind that permeates all of man is man himself. Man is a form of this living substance and has within him a principle of health. This principle of health, when in full constructive activity, causes all the involuntary functions of the human body to be perfectly performed. Okay, now remember, this living substance that he is talking about is an intelligent, mental, living, thinking substance, okay? And this thinking substance has embodied itself within every single form, and it is through the forms that it is allowed to express itself. So, this embodiment that we are in, we are this thinking substance embodied in this human physical form. And whatever thoughts we think, we set into activity of certain motions. Me thinking of picking up this pine cone is what causes me to dictate and take the actions of actually picking up the pine cone. Now remember, it must first have its origination in mind and thought, and then it takes on the form and expression. Let's continue. Man is a thinking substance permeating a visible body, and the process of his body are controlled by his thoughts. When man thinks only thoughts of perfect health, the internal processes of his body will be those of perfect health. Man's first step towards perfect health must be to form a conception of himself as perfectly healthy and as doing all things in the way and manner of a perfectly healthy person. So basically, form the conception of being perfect health. Make the thought form of you having that perfect health, and eventually you will embody that image of yourself being perfectly healthy, and you will act what is this word I'm looking for? Express yourself in a perfectly healthy way. Having formed this conception, he must relate himself to it with all his thoughts, and sever all thought relations with diseases and weakness. If he does this and thinks his thoughts of health with positive faith, men will cause the principle of health within him to become constructively active and to heal all his diseases. He can receive additional power from the universal principle of life by faith, and he can acquire faith by looking to this principle of life with reverent gratitude for the health it gives him. If man will consciously accept the health which is continually being given to him by this living substance, and if he will be duly grateful for it, he will develop faith. Man cannot think only thoughts of perfect health unless he performs the voluntary functions of life in a perfectly healthy manner. These voluntary functions are eating, drinking, breathing, and sleeping. If man thinks only thoughts of health, has faith in health, and eats, drinks, breathes, and sleeps in a perfectly healthy way, he must have perfect health. Health is the result of thinking and acting in a certain way. And if a sick person begins to think and act in this way, the principle of health within him will come into constructive activity and heal all his diseases. This principle of health is the same in all, and is related to the life principle of the universe. It is able to heal every disease, and will come into activity whenever a person thinks and acts in accordance with the science of being well. Therefore, every man can attain perfect health. The end. Now that is the end of our lovely book, The Science of Being Well by Wallace D. Wattles. Remember, this book is written back in 1910, and even today it still has its wonderful properties and loving information and knowledge to share. And one thing I want to say about Wallace D. Wattles is he explains things in one of the most simplest ways that I know. There is nothing more natural and simpler than how he has explained the science of being well. Yeah, we're all reflections and embodiments of this universal intelligence, and this universal intelligence is able to think, and man is a thinking center, and when man thinks, he is creating that within himself, and he is forming his own life from the own thought forms that he holds, because the thought that which he holds habitually, remember, he will take on the form because he becomes that character. Remember, the greatest secret, that a man is what he thinks about most of the time. So it is very, very important to not only think in a healthy way, but also to act, eat, breathe, and sleep in a healthy way. Okay, when it comes to breathing, remember, breathing is a subconscious activity. Okay, it's something you do automatically. The only thing you do with breathing is consciously control the intensity of how much we're going to breathe. Okay, so deciding to breathe in more, exhaling even quicker than the original rhythmic beat that we usually go to. Okay, now that one's for breathing, and then there's, to add on to breathing, also fresh air. Make sure there's always fresh air. Remember, oxygen is a molecule just as, carbon dioxide and hydrogen. Your body is taking in this molecule and distributing it through each cell of its body, so it's very, very important that air, that oxygen is nice and clean, so we provide our body with nice clean oxygen and not filthy oxygen. Okay, that one was for breathing. Then there's also eating. Okay, when it comes to eating, eat only when you're hungry. Remember the difference between hunger and appetite. Okay, hunger is when the subconscious mind is telling you that it's time to eat. Okay, because it's ready for you to build new cell material. Appetite is when you're not really hungry. You're just eating out of habit. You want this apple because it's sitting there and it looks good. And maybe there's not much else to do, or you're waiting for your client or something, like this guy sometimes. I'll admit it, sometimes when I'm waiting for my client, I'll eat the apple that I had taken. Why not? It's good. Plus if I'm going to exercise a little bit, I could sure use the simple sugars, so my body will take it in and use it immediately for energy. Okay, so with eating also, eat to liquids. Okay, eat your food to the most liquid state, so it's easier for your digestive system to actually digest, and it'll go through it'll go easier through not only your stomach but also your intestines, and it'll be waste product a lot easier, and that'll also, remember, all the nutrition you get from the foods, it is through the small intestine. Okay, the small intestine is what sucks out the rest of the liquids, all the nutrients into the bloodstream, and it's through the bloodstream that all the cells of your body gets all the nutrition it needs. Okay, so eating to a liquid state is very important, so then it's easier for not only your body to digest, but also the nutrition will go throughout the nutrition will be distributed throughout the cells of your body even quicker. Okay, so we went through eating, breathing. There's also, what was the other one? sleeping, okay, when you sleep, let's go over a little bit more about what he says on sleeping. I know there wasn't really much to it. He was just saying how sleeping is basically man's way of reharnessing his energy. It's almost what it was. It's only a one page. Yeah, we inspired. Yeah, that's really all there is the importance of sleep. Sleep is just how vital power is renewed. Every living thing sleeps. And this is because it is in sleep that we come into such contact with the principle of life in nature that our own lives may be renewed. That is what sleep is. Sleeping is just us getting... Sleep is unconscious meditation, us getting back to regenerating ourselves, getting our body into a state of regeneration. That's what sleep is. Okay, and then lastly, there's drinking. Okay, drink just drink when your body's asking for water. Don't drink too much at a time. Slowly consistently take sips throughout the day to keep you hydrated. Okay, don't jug a bunch of water and then go a while without drinking any. Okay, you'll just hydrate and then be dehydrated. Okay, you want to consistently stay hydrated, not too hydrated and not too dehydrated. Okay, maintain that balance. Then if we do all these things, we eat, sleep, breathe, and drink in these healthy ways, and not only that, think healthy, we will attain our perfect health. And with that being said, you guys, this is the end of this book. If you made it all the way through with me, thank you so much for watching, and this information is very, very important. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah, we're all in this together, because what I want for myself, I want for all, because what we get for ourselves, we get for all. And use is the only way to keep this information. Remember, if you don't use something, you lose it. So you must give in order to get. So we are giving this out because we know that eventually we will get a lot back in return, and there's no better gift to have than to be able to give, because receiving without giving is dead, and giving itself without receiving gives life, because it makes you feel more whole as a person, because you did something for somebody else. And that is what we are here to do. That is what we are all here to do, to help each other succeed, because we're all in this together. Okay, remember, behind this mask that we wear, you and I are one. I am. Or shall I say, we are. So with that being said, remember our daily affirmations. We are the lights of the world. And I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.